Hi, and welcome to the first video in our Thought Experiments series. Today we're exploring a playful but revealing question. What if Moses had used Toyota's 5 Whys to address the Israelites' concerns? The Toyota 5 Whys method is a root cause analysis tool used in process improvement. You ask why, repeatedly, usually 5 times, to peel back layers of symptoms and reveal the real problem underneath. Now imagine Moses using this technique in the wilderness. After leading the Israelites out of Egypt, he found himself facing a full-blown morale crisis. The people were grumbling about the lack of meat and bread, reminiscing about the good old days of slavery because, at least back then, dinner was predictable. Whether due to lack of preparation or poor execution on Moses' part, the Israelites had lost sight of why they left Egypt in the first place. The Israelites were spiraling into self-pity, blaming Moses for freeing them from what they now remembered as a comfortable, food-secure life, conveniently forgetting the chains, forced labor, and generational trauma that came with it. As Moses learned the hard way, you can take the people out of Egypt, but you can't take Egypt out of the people overnight. So imagine this. What if Moses had called a meeting with the chief grumblers and walked them through a structured breakdown of their complaints? Toyota style. It may have gone something like this. Grumblers, we had food on the table in Egypt. Moses, why was there food on the table in Egypt? Grumblers, our masters provided it. Moses, why did your masters provide you with food? Grumblers, because we were their servants. Moses, why were you their servants? Grumblers, they promised to feed, clothe, and protect us. Moses, why did they need to feed, clothe, and protect you? Grumblers, because they held all the resources and weapons. Moses, why did they hold all the resources and weapons? Grumblers, because they confiscated them from us. Moses, why did they confiscate them? Grumblers, because they were afraid we might protest and riot. Moses, and why were they afraid you might protest and riot? Grumblers, because we were enslaved under their oppressive regime. Moses, exactly. And isn't that why you're here now, free, but complaining about the manna you have to eat? Moses could have sent these newly enlightened grumblers back into the camp to repeat the same questioning process with everyone else. Because when people are in the discomfort of transition, they often forget the purpose behind the change. The old system may have been harmful, but it was predictable. And predictability can feel safer than freedom when your self-worth has been systematically dismantled. The Israelites knew where their next meal was coming from in Egypt. What they didn't know was how to trust themselves after centuries of being told what to do, when to do it, and how to do it. When Moses instituted the 600-plus laws in response to their grumblings, he was basically doing the same thing as their Egyptian captors. The laws covered everything they did from sunup to sundown. The effects of abuse of power on a person's soul do not go away easily. The results of long-term oppression don't disappear just because the chains fall off. Rebuilding a sense of identity, confidence, and agency after being treated as a tool, a means to someone else's profit, is a monumental task. Moses had the knowledge and the vision. What he lacked was the stamina to reinforce it daily in a people whose inner world had been starved as severely as their bodies had been worked. And this is where the 5 Whys becomes more than a corporate tool. It becomes a spiritual diagnostic. Every why strips away another layer of illusion. Why do we long for what enslaved us? Why do we resist the very freedom we prayed for? Why do we cling to the familiar even when it harms us? The Israelites weren't craving meat. They were craving certainty. They were craving the psychological safety that had been stolen from them. And until that wound was addressed, no amount of manna would feel like enough. If Moses had used the 5 Whys, he might have uncovered the real root cause. A people can't walk into a promised land with a slave mindset. You can't build a free society with people who still believe they need a master to survive. The wilderness wasn't punishment. It was rehab, a detox from dependency, a crash course in remembering their own power. And that's the real value of this thought experiment. The 5 Whys isn't just a tool for factories or leadership seminars. It's a tool for consciousness. Whenever we find ourselves longing for an old pattern, an old relationship, an old identity, even one that hurt us, asking why, 5 times or more can reveal the invisible chains we didn't realize we were still dragging behind us. So, what if Moses had used Toyota's 5 whys? Maybe the Israelites would have understood sooner that their hunger wasn't for meat, it was for meaning. Maybe they would have recognized that freedom requires more than escape. It requires inner reconstruction. And maybe Moses wouldn't have spent quite so many nights begging God for patience. But the deeper lesson is this. Every exodus, personal or collective, comes with a moment when we want to turn back. That's when the 5 whys becomes a compass, pointing us back to the truth we started with. In the end, the wilderness wasn't a detour. It was the workshop where a nation learned to stop thinking like slaves and start thinking like creators. Thanks for watching.